So this is a showcase for my Bombardier drone build. I've been trying to make a video for the past few weeks now, and I finally got some good footage together. First, I just want to show you guys a minute engagement in occupied dark zone. I don't like to show any builds or abilities against a friend or somebody that's just standing still, not fighting back, just to show off the damage because it's not practical. So ideally you want to use Demolitionist Specialist for the 25% explosive damage. I don't really see that as too important as compared to ignoring the one explosion every 60 seconds because I've died quite a few times or been downed from my own Bombardier drone before, but I'll tell you more about that later. This is what I wanted to show from the clip. The guy in the back got hit by 4 bombs, 3 of them downing him, the 4th one killing him. The guy in the front, it looks like he ignored the first explosion, got hit by a second one, and I finished him off with the rest of my assault rifle. At the time of this clip, I'm running 89% CDR and 90% explosive damage from all sources. Now with those stats that I just mentioned, it's 3 bombs to down somebody, so that means 1 bomb takes out about half of somebody's armor, the last will kill them. But also remember too, I wasn't using the Demolitionist specialization, so I'm actually missing 25% explosive damage. So it would be that much more stronger if I was maxed out properly. So this is my loadout when I use the Bombardier drone. I start with each piece to show you what each stats it have. I use a Providence mask for the 10% skill power. CDR and Surge is important here. For the chest, I'm using Alp Summit because it gives a lot of skill power and destructive. Alp Summit always has 2 traits, so it always has the ability to roll very high numbers. For the holster, I'm using Araldi because it always has 1 trait, and again, CDR comes with very high numbers, and it has destructive talent. I also have another one here that gives me 24% CDR, so I can also switch out for 90% CDR if I want. For the knee pads, we have China Light because it gives the 10% explosive damage. We're looking for CDR and Surge on this as well. For the gloves, I'm using Alp Summit, all skill power, and another destructive talent. And for the backpack, another Alp Summit because it has 2 traits again that can roll high, CDR and skill power, and destructive is important here. So to tally it up, it comes out to 2 Surge talents and 4 destructive talents. So if I'm running with the Demolitionist specialization, I'll have 115% explosive damage. Now, another thing that's difficult is when you're running very high CDR is that it takes the room of skill power traits. But you can see that my skill power is relatively high for having so many CDR attributes. The way we can judge this is by looking at the highest skill power required mod that we've seen. The highest I've seen is about 2900. So I'm only about 500 or 600 short of the highest skill power mod that I can use. But if you guys notice, I have 2883 drone skill power and 2651 Seeker Mine skill power. That's because the mods that I have slotted into my gear, not just utility mods, system and protocol, I have generic mods that boost drone, seeker, pulse, all kinds of skills. Those are important and you need to look out for those. So this is the other holster I might use if I want 90 CDR, but if you look at the mod slot, it has an offensive system mod slot. It's not so useful for utility, but since I have a generic system mod slot that gives me seeker and drone skill power, I can use it on that. But first I'll show you guys the mods that are the best to use with the Bombardier drone. In 100% of all cases, you want 2 of them to give you blast radius and 1 of them to give you extra bombs. The reason I love this build is because no one uses Bombardier drone at all. Every group that I play with, I'm the only one that uses it. It's the least used skill besides Firefly, but that doesn't count because nobody uses it anyways. How I started liking the Bombardier drone is because that one hunter by Theater was using it against me, and I thought it was pretty cool and cheap at the same time, and I wanted to have something similar like that. That's why. But here's a clip showing you guys me putting in different mods for the Bombardier drone and why 2 for blast radius and 1 for extra bombs is always going to be best. So now I'm adding more bombs, taking out a blast radius, coming out to 11 bombs. The distance that it can go the furthest is still the same, but there might be more bombs, but the blast radius is smaller, meaning the bigger blast radius you have, the more chance that one person could get hit by 3, 4, or 5 bombs. With the mods that I use, if placed perfectly and correctly, I'm able to hit one person, one NPC at most 5 times. So that's 5 different bombs. And real quick, if you saw me stumble just a few seconds ago from the Bombarder drone, I would have been down there if I didn't have Demolitionist. Just a little side note. But okay, let's show you guys all the utility, protocol, and system gear mods that I have that I can switch between. For protocol, there's a lot of good ones that give you explosive damage. That's pretty much what you want to look for at the highest skill power, but utility system is the best because there's a lot that give you a little skill power total, but it gives you a lot of drone skill power, for example. I pretty much have a utility system mod that will boost every skill that I'm currently using at the moment that I can just easily switch between. So I've been collecting these for a long time. I think out of my whole stash and inventory, anything to do with utility and skill power takes up the most space. Remember, collecting those generic mod slots that boost some kind of utility will help make those offensive and defensive slots useful. I also want to say that it's more viable in PvE. It can be used in PvP, but I think if you have a group of people that you know and can communicate with, it'd be very good. What I like to think of is that the Bombarder drone is high risk, high reward. In PvE might not be so bad because the cooldown will come back in a little over 10 seconds, but PvP can be pretty devastating. If you miss, then that could be the end of the fight. But if you land some of it, any of it, 1 or 2 bombs, I mean, we already saw in the clip early in the beginning, 1 bomb is already about half of an agent's armor. And of course, it's a bomb. It'll stagger them, knock them out of cover, whatever it may do, force them to a different direction. Another thing that I've noticed is with the mods I'm using, 2 blast radius, 1 extra bombs, is if the bomb says that it's going to hit the player or NPC, it almost guarantees that they'll be hit at least twice just because of how big the bomb radius is and how many bombs there are covering that distance. I've been using the Bombarder drone for over a month now, so yeah, I've been trying to put this guy together for a while. But if you just noticed there a few seconds ago, it was supposed to drop 3 bombs. It only dropped 2 of them and then crashed before it could drop the 3rd. But I'm telling you, there's been a vast improvement. The update that was right before World Tier 5, the update before that one, they fixed drone instances where it would crash or it would be able to maneuver certain distances. It would crash head on to things, but now it actually kind of avoids it and goes around certain objects to drop bombs. And it's a lot faster. It used to be so slow, it'd be so easy to dodge. So I'm telling you guys that it's pretty viable. The most important thing with crashes and it glitching out or failing, not dropping all the bombs, is usually 4 out of 5 times because of your placement itself. Otherwise, I think it's been very good. But I'll show this clip again because I consider this a perfect deploy, by the way. Some quick tips that will definitely help. If the enemy's pretty close to you, you can quick deploy by holding the skill button, and instead of being able to pick the start and finish points, it'll already start from pretty much literally right in front of you and finish how far for how many bombs in the radius that you have in your mods. This is the quick deploy example I play on Xbox, and notice that it shows the 2 points, LB, start and finish, whereas if you didn't quick deploy, you could pick the 2 points and deploy it a lot further. This is for shorter distances when the enemy's really close and you really don't have time. I usually do this when I'm behind cover and somebody's rushing me. If you guys notice too, you can actually cancel the skill while it's deploying. As long as you cancel it, hold down the skill button and it cancels before it drops the last bomb, you'll get half of the skill cooldown back. I do this when I know the deploy is going to be glitchy or it might crash, so it's a good thing to know. Like this clip, for example, I would have canceled it if I really thought about it. It's always easier to deploy the bombs from left to right instead of forward to back. Remember that. And it covers more distance for some reason. I think it's because how hard it is to pick the start and finish points for the Bombarder drone. If you're going from front to back, you have to pretty much look to the sky, whereas if you do it from side to side, you just look left to right without, losing sight of the enemy or being able to shoot at them at the same time. And that's pretty much it. I'll show you guys the loadout once again. I'm using 1 Providence, 3 Alps Summit, 1 Araldi, and 1 China Light. I really don't see any other way to play the Bombarder drone unless you have pretty high CDR. If there are any changes you could make, you could get a 3-piece China Light maybe for 10% more CDR, or switch the Surge talent on the knee pads for the one that gives you the talent called Calculated, which gives you 20% CDR on kills while in cover. That way you could switch out some of the CDR attributes and add higher skill power ones. That would also be another viable choice. I prefer the max static CDR because I like to switch skills around a lot, and I also have a support healing build with 90% CDR that I play. I'll try to make a guide on that sometime soon as well. And that is it. I'm sorry if this is too long. I feel like it's too long personally. I don't like long videos because I also don't like to clickbait or lead people on. I like to get straight to the facts, make videos as short as possible. Like I said, the Bombarder drone is the least used skill variant out of all the skills in the Division 2, so I had to make the best, most informative guide possible on it because there aren't very many, and that's the best part about it. It's different. I'm very disappointed that there's not much build diversity in Division 2, but that's basically only because that there isn't much that works in the Division 2. If a lot more stuff was viable and worked, then I think we'd have a lot more build diversity, which is also a big reason why I'm sharing this build. Notice I haven't said anything about my gun loadout. You're free to do as you choose. All we care about is spamming Bombarder drone over and over. Thank you for listening. The main thing after everything, if not viable, then this is definitely the most fun I've had in a Division 2 with this build.